just started on a question. Superintendent, we're on 5 years now. What does this case mean to you?
Oh gosh, it would take me a while to explain it, but I think it's the totality of evil in my career, me personally. But the beauty of it is I get to represent some amazing people that have given their entire life to this. They're one of the last things I think about every day, and one of the first things I think of in the morning.
Wow. What is the focus of your investigation right now, and what is the evidence telling you?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the evidence. I think we've done a fair job of doing that over the course of these last 5 years. There's been a tremendous amount of speculation, Rich, about what we know and what we don't know. I think most people's intentions are good when they've done their own courses of investigations globally. But I'm pretty confident in the place where we are right now. And eventually the world's going to know what we do. I still get between probably 25 and 40 direct tips a week right here, literally from around the world. Germany, Australia, of late, Italy, and then almost every state in the country. And you know, I'll forward that up to our investigators in Carroll County. Tony Liggett from the Cass County, from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and Tobe Lenzenby and Jerry Holman and Dave Vito, or Jay Harper, are troopers that are assigned to this. And it's just amazing to me that they have that same energy and the same gumption today that they did almost 5 years ago. It's an extraordinary thing to watch.
You say eventually the world is going to know. Does that mean you are close, in your opinion?
I think we're closer every day. We're closer every single day. The tips keep coming. And once that comes in, once that completes itself, then we're going to have to assign another 60 or 80 detectives to this and go back through every single lead that we've ever gotten. I'm confident that there'll be a successful conclusion for Abby and Libby, for Mike and Becky and Anna, and for that community. I'm confident that there will.
Do you have a person or persons of interest, or do you have a suspect?
I'm confident that this will come to a conclusion eventually.
In the past, you have said, we have likely interviewed the killer. Do you still think that?
I think that we're not going to singularly identify anyone right now, at least publicly. But again, we've done, we would be that I would be included in that. I'm not included in that. The detectives that have been assigned this, task forces have been assigned this, have talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And again, one day we'll be able to tell you why we did that and who did it.
Early on, you released a sketch of, how do I phrase it? Early on, you released a sketch, and later you released a different sketch.
Right.
Why have the sketches changed so dramatically?
Well, investigations evolve. One of the things that I've said consistently throughout this entire process, Rich, is that, remember, a sketch is not a photograph, but there'll be pieces and parts of that sketch that will make that photograph whole, you see. So if we didn't evolve with information and we didn't evolve with what we know, then shame on us. Unfortunately, we're not in a position where we can tell everybody why we switch gears, why we make a slight turn to the right or a slight turn to the left. And that's where the speculation begins, and that's where the animosity comes and the frustration. And I understand it. I do understand it. Because very selfishly, there's other than the family of Abby and Libby in that community up there, there's nobody that wants to find this monster more than me.
In December, you came out and said, you asked for the public's help and saying, anybody who's communicated with this Anthony Schatz profile on social media,
Right.
please get in contact. Did Abby and Libby communicate with this profile?
I'm not going to talk about that, but I am going to say that we learned a tremendous amount through that particular investigative course.
What can you tell me about this man who has been arrested, the creator of this profile, Keegan Kline?
All I can say about Keegan is that entire issue and the entire release has allowed us to glean significant investigative leads. That's all I can say about him.
I've spoken to some people who were involved in the investigation early on, and they say that there's more. There's more video, there's more sound. Why not release more of that?
It's important that we don't show our hand, quite frankly, and very directly. We're not going to explain what we know about the killer. We're not going to do that. We're not going to explain some of the intricate details of the death of Abby and Libby. Unfortunately, one day we're going to have to, but then that's going to create a whole other issue with family and friends and the community and the like. So from an investigative standpoint, I'm not going to talk any more about it.
The audio that you released, it says "guys down the hill." Does "guys" and "down the hill" come right next to each other in the original recording?
Again, there's speculation about what that means, what was actually said, who said it, was it connected, was it the same voice? And again, that's an investigative component of this, and I'm not worthy to discuss it.
From what we've seen, there's footage of the girl of this suspect, of this person of interest, from, I believe, Libby's phone. Is there surveillance video of the girls at any time going?
Rich, I'm doing this interview to talk about the effects that this gruesome crime has had on a community, on a state, and on a nation. I'm not going to talk about the evidence. It's not one.
Okay.
Okay. I've got nothing
Okay.
new. I've got nothing new to release.
Okay. I'll switch gears here. I'm sorry. Social media has kind of tried to devour this case. They're consumed with it. Has social media affected the investigation, positive or negative in any way?
That's a great question, and I think we have this amazing ability to communicate today, and I don't understand it. I'm not going to pretend to, but what I do know is that we have been able to glean information literally from around the globe. The intelligence that we've received, not only on this case, but on many other criminal cases and criminal matters around the country, has been extraordinary. So I think when people start doing their own investigation and start comparing what they think, that creates problems. We've asked them not to do that. There are a lot of people that look like the sketches that we've released. And then when you blow that out there with a picture of somebody that they think next to a sketch, imagine what it does to that person if they're not involved at all. Right. So we've tried to be very, very careful and very cautious there with how we've done that. But I got to tell you, every time a tip pops up on my screen, I smile because I'm so grateful. Now, the downside of that is we can't respond to every one of them. I get so many of these where people want a direct response and an explanation as to what an explanation from me as to what they're thinking. And for obvious reasons, I just can't do that. But I think it's been an amazing effort in collecting an extraordinary amount of data and intelligence, and then how are we going to collate that? Because I think the vast majority of people are doing what they think is right. I hope that answers the question, because it's a really good point, and it's been something like I've never seen in my entire career.
How can the public continue to help with this case?
Keep doing what they're doing. Keep doing what they're doing. I hope that this has brought a light, maybe even a glimmer of hope, to monitoring what happens out there from a parental perspective, a peer perspective, a relative's perspective, a neighbor's perspective, whatever that might be, because again of the way in which we have the ability to communicate. And finally, what I'll say to that is, law enforcement should never talk about what we think. We should only talk about what we know. And it's easy for someone else, for a person out there trying to do the right thing, to make what they think what they know. You see what I mean? And it's really important. I know you see it all the time. And it's really important, particularly as we we face head on a complete planet that's out of balance right now. And the vitriol and the negativity associated with every single thing we do. And it just breaks my heart, whether it's race, whether it's white or black or Asian or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. It seems that if we don't agree, we hate each other, and I don't hate anybody for trying to help us.
How important a piece of this puzzle is that video that Libby pulled out her phone and started recording? I mean, the wherewithal she must have had in that moment to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that specifically, but what I will say about it is it adds, again, a little bit of weight to a very complicated murder investigation. So I'd much rather have it than not, I think, is how I'd respond to that.
I'm going to ask it, and if you don't want to go there, I understand. The crime scene, the area where their bodies were found, from what I've been told and from being there, is very hard to reach. And some have speculated that it's only reachable if you cross this creek, or if you. And the speculation is that this is a person that was very familiar with the terrain. Can you speak to that at all?
One thing I'd say is any place in the country that's rural, there's multiple points of access, generally speaking, especially in Indiana that's hilly, but mostly flat. So again, there's a lot of speculation as to why they might have been there, but I'm not going to talk about it right now.
I've seen in press briefings in the past where you've addressed this person or persons directly. Is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
They're watching. They're watching. And we'll meet them soon. We'll meet them.
Anything you'd like to talk about, because I'm not asking you about it, but about Abby and Libby or their families or anything like that you really want me to get across?
You know, Rich, man, I hope everybody asks me that question, because that's why we do what we do, right? That's why you do what you do. It's why I do what I do. And that's why all of us have a little bit of piece of the puzzle here, or a piece of the pie or whatever. I want to meet with Mike and Becky and Anna, and I want to tell them we did it. That's what I want to tell them. We collectively did it. And you know, it's the last year of the sheriff's term up there. I'm sure that he wants this resolved by the end of it, because he's lived it for now 5 years too, like everybody else. The community, my gosh, what an extraordinary community. 2 deputies, a jail officer and a merit deputy, were just killed in a car accident. You know, on the 29th of January, just a couple weeks ago. The Flora fire that killed those 4 beautiful young girls in November of 2016. They seem to have a shadow up there, and I don't understand why. But I've seen such enormous outpouring of support, and not just for people dressed funny like me, but for everybody up there. They taught us a lot about humility, and they taught us a lot about human interaction, and a lot about caring for one another, and they didn't even know it. They didn't even know it at the time. And then from a very personal perspective, I believe that I'll see their smiling faces once again. One day. One day.
Here we are at 5 years.
Yeah.
How often do you think about this case?
My number one worry throughout the course of the day, because it's such a violent world we live in, is my hope and my prayer for people like Sergeant Jeremy Pierce. They get home every day, you know. We've got a lot of work to do in the way in which we treat other people. But I can't, there's not many waking minutes that I'm not thinking about those 2 little girls.
Seems like a great place to end it, unless there's other things you would like to introduce. And if so, I can ask a question to introduce
No,
it.
you know, I please talk about those folks that are up there continuing to do this work.
You mean the sheriff,
the sheriff and Tony and Jerry Holman and Dave Vito and Jay Harper, and we have so many other people from our laboratory personnel that are so committed to this. Intelligence people that deal with it, work on it every single day. The U.S. Marshals, the task forces of federal agencies. It's been an extraordinary thing to see, and it's made us better. Their work collectively has made us better. It's not been perfect. You put two people in a room, eventually you're going to argue, right? Eventually.
Right.
So we fuss with each other just like brothers and sisters do. But everybody's intent is the same. Everybody's intent is the same. And their life's focus is Abby and Libby. And then the family, and then the community, and then the county, and then the state, and then the nation, and then the countries from around the world that we've talked with.